Hey everyone, this is Rick Briswalis with the Sports Affiliation, and welcome to the Give Back show, where we try to highlight some of the good that people in fantasy football are doing with charity leagues and charity events, and in the process, hopefully encouraging others to either participate in or even start up their own charity league or a charity event. Tonight, I'm going to highlight a group, the folks from the Rule the Jungle podcast, and um, hopefully, and there's Anthony. Hi, Anthony.
How
Give
you
them a
doing,
chance
Rick?
to talk about what they're doing with something called the Jovante Woods Foundation. And before we get into that, why don't we get to know a little bit more about Anthony, another member of the Rule the Jungle podcast, might be joining us. But Anthony's being a trooper, and yeah, he's going to at least start us off. So, Anthony, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you're from, what you do outside of fantasy football, and then we'll talk more about some fantasy football stuff.
Well, Rick, first of all, thank you for taking the time out to invite us on the show. So I want to get that out of the way first. Well, a little bit about me. I'm born and raised in Cincinnati, a long time Bengals fan. So for me, uh, when I'm not with, when I'm not around, when I'm not working or spending time with family, like my baby, my passion is the podcast. So, and with the podcast, we do everything from talking about current Bengals news to ranking top players around the league, that sort of thing. We've even been fortunate enough to have some former Bengals players and people that cover the team on the podcast before. So like that's been like the big one of the big highlights of doing the podcast that I've enjoyed.
Yeah, it looks like you've had a lot of the Bengals, and we'll come to a question about what your favorite team that you follow, and I guess that's going to be an obvious one.
Of
But
course.
we also had a chance to talk with another podcast called the Star We Are, and they are very focused on the Dallas Cowboys, and so they also, because of that focus, they're able to get close to the team, and I kind of envy that because who wouldn't want to be able to, get a chance to meet with and talk with members of the football team that they root for. So that's really cool. And so we know you root for the Bengals, and I've had a couple of other guests that have been Cincinnati fans, or at least follow the Cincinnati Bengals. But I always think it's helpful to get someone close to the team to tell us what they think about the team and what they think about the chances for the team in the upcoming year. So, can you tell us a little bit what your expectations are for the Bengals in 2025?
I think for us going into this year, for the anybody that follows football and that has been a long time fan of the team, last season didn't go at all what we expected. I think we expected to be in the playoffs. Unfortunately, we fell short, coming out to a 1-4 start, but ending at a 9-8 season wasn't what we were looking for. There was a lot of struggles on the defensive side of the ball. Offense seemed like once they got going, they just kept going up from there. I think going into this year with us letting go of longtime defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo, bringing in the new defensive coordinator who was our linebackers coach, one Al Golden. I think the hope is that we can, because we've got a lot of young defensive talent that maybe haven't gotten quite the shot that they've had to be able to show what they're capable of. I think we're all hoping for them to be able to come in for Al Golden Jerry Montgomery, Chuck Hodges, the linebackers coach, to be able to come in and develop these guys and make them into, if not potential elite players, at least to adequate starters to be able to say, hey, like these guys can come in and be able to get the job done.
And keep you in the games. Now, offensively, you've got Joe Burrow. You've got two great wide receivers. You've got a really good running back. So offensively, things are looking really good for the team.
Oh yeah.
Defensively, that's been more the challenge. And I guess you have a couple of holdouts. Any news or any thoughts on whether the two defensive ends are going to be signing anytime soon?
Trey, I'm hoping to see that I'm hoping to see them get something before camp, or at least before the season starts. Shamar, there's a lot I can say on it, but it's like I would think because I do the podcast, I try to keep at least in a, what's the word I'm looking for? An objective view
Mm-hmm.
on it. Because on the one hand, I can understand some of what they're saying, but I know there's been some recent developments where the agent has gone on the opening drive for Solomon Wilcots, and the opening drive on Sirius XM with Solomon Wilcots, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he kind of said some things that kind of
Didn't help.
did not help his case, did not help Shamar's case.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
guess I understand that, he's trying to show the slotting of the draft picks, and he's not getting anywhere near what the pick above him and the pick below him in the draft. But again, I'll be honest, I just drafted him in the 7th round of a IDP draft that I'm in, and so I'm hoping he comes back and it makes an impact this year. But I'm having a hunch it's going to be more of it's a dynasty IDP, so he'll be maybe there for next year, whether it's with the Bengals or with some other team. I
of
saw him
course.
watch A&M, and he was a monster. So I could definitely see the
And
interest in getting him.
and the kid's got all the intangibles to be able to be a, because I am a firm believer that not all, where you could be an absolute, where you could get draft somebody that's an absolute monster in college and get them in the NFL and they're a complete dud. But you get somebody that maybe they were middle of the road in college, but you put them in the right system, you put them in the right situation in the pros, and then suddenly they just take off. I
Yeah.
am a firm believer that, hey, that is it's important going. Situation is important going into when you're coming out of college and you're going into your first year in the NFL.
And this year is important. Obviously, he's already missing a good chunk of the training camp, and depending on how long this holdout lasts, it pretty much is a wash of a season. So hopefully, he and his agent and the team can come to some sort of an understanding soon to get him on there.
One can only hope. That's the big thing. As a longtime fan, you hate to see these things happen. It doesn't matter if you're a Bengals fan, a Steelers fan, Browns, or Ravens.
Yeah, you want to see the best players out there. And the other thing is that, and again, football versus fantasy football, the challenges they have on the defensive side are kind of a benefit to anyone who's got a lot of the Bengals on offense, because they're going to have to score to keep up. They're going to have to, perhaps, pass the ball a little bit more. So from that standpoint, seeing them, continuing to struggle a bit on defense. I know as a football fan, you want to see the best players on the field, and you want to see a balance of offense and defense.
That would obviously be the idea, but I think we all know that's not always what you get. Some usually, depending on the roster that you have, you either have one, like, say, take for instance the Ravens. The Ravens are okay in the pass game, but the way their system is set up, they're more dominant in the run game.
Yes, definitely with Henry, and even Lamar Jackson
Yep.
is a powerful running quarterback. So yeah, you're right on that. And their wide receivers, while decent, they're not like Chase and Higgins. So
Oh no, without question.
so you play fantasy football along with following the team. You also play fantasy football and do a podcast, I believe, the Rule of the Jungle podcast.
Yep.
How long have you been doing fantasy football?
I've been doing fantasy football since about 2012. Uh, yeah, for me, with me, year to year, it's always kind of been a luck of the draw. Because I've always been one that usually I'll buy the fantasy football books to kind of really read and try to dissect and try to figure out, oh, hey, this person's, you compare stats from the previous year to what they're projecting. And it's always one of those things. I think that's the exciting thing about fantasy football, that it's always a luck of the draw. Yeah. It's one part skill, but three parts luck.
And we talked before the show, and you shared that you have played football. And do you find kind of like viewing fantasy football, having been a football player, a little differently? Do you find any benefits to knowing the game well, and then allowing that to help you with your fantasy football decisions? Or do you sometimes even just kind of roll your eyes at people who make fantasy football observations, or analysis of players in the game, and you say, oh well, they've never played? Easy for them to say that.
I think for me, like, usually, like, when it comes to drafting players, I've always tried to look at I think I've always looked at it from alignment, because I was an offensive and defensive lineman when I played in high school. So, like, for instance, if you say I had the chance, say I'm going into a draft, if I'm looking at a team like, say, Philadelphia with my first, say I got the first pick, I'm obviously going to look at a guy like Saquon Barkley, because when you look at a Saquon Barkley, not only is he a skilled running back, but he has one of the best offensive lines in football,
Got it.
at least in this current generation, because
Got it.
we all know the Eagles line is scary good.
Yes, definitely.
And I think a lot of those guys might have been grown in a lab somewhere.
Yeah. And even when they lost Kelsey as the center,
Yeah, they didn't miss a
people were
step.
worried about it. Didn't seem to phase them. They were still doing great, both with Barkley and even with Hurts, and doing his what do they call it? It's not tush push. They've given it a better name, I think. So
You still hear a lot of people say the tush push, but I've also heard them call it the brotherly shove.
that's it. The brotherly
Yeah,
shove. I love it.
yeah. I've also heard that one get thrown around a lot. So it's kind of it's subjective in a manner of speaking.
Now, we've touched on the podcast, the Rule of the Jungle podcast, and you're the host of the podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about that, and what led you to starting or getting involved in the podcast, and kind of tell us a little bit about what types of shows you do?
For me, what kind of got me to want to do the podcast, I kind of for a long time had went in. Oh well, Will's in the chat.
He can type his responses.
Hey, Will, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Will was one of the podcast members, and we were hoping to get him on, and I guess we've had some technical issues, so apologize.
Going back to your question, what made me decide to go into podcasting? I think for me, it started with growing up loving the game of football. obviously getting the chance to play football in high school. After high school, because we all know not everybody gets the chance to go at the next level. Uh, I was unfortunately one of those people, but I wanted to still stay involved. I wasn't sure if I wanted to go the coaching route or if I wanted to go a different route. So when I decided, yeah, so some previous guests that you had on the show, which for the Bengals and Brews crew, were good friends of mine, and they invited me on their show and really got to talking and really got to really enjoy sharing my knowledge and sharing just talking football with like-minded people. It just made me to say, you know what? Why don't I take a shot at it? Yeah, heck, even if it doesn't turn a profit, at least hey, I'm doing something that I enjoy.
Awesome.
And for me, at that point, that's when I decided to recruit Will, and Will, who's a like-minded football fan, like myself, and both of us are season ticket holders for the Bengals. So for us, it was kind of a no-brainer that we kind of formed that partnership that made it into what it started to become, with which I couldn't have asked for a better partner to do that with.
Yeah, and he's in the chat, so you want to make sure you say really good things to him. So
He, he,
I'm
he
just kidding.
as much as I bust his chops, he knows anything I would say if I would say something off color. He knows I'd say it directly to him. But it's always nothing but love and respect.
Well, and it looks like he's asking, tell everyone what I said at first when you asked me.
He
So,
told me no. He told me no. Then he rethought about it and he said, "Okay."
well, and you mentioned you've had the good fortune of having some of the Cincinnati Bengals
Yeah,
associated with your
we've had some
podcast.
of the we've had the honor of having some former players on. We haven't quite been fortunate enough to get to current players, which that is one of the things that it's a goal on our list, because me and Will do a lot of networking when charity events come up and things of that sort. That we do a lot of networking, so we're hoping at some point to maybe strike gold.
Awesome. And again, yeah, I know you probably have to go through like the organization. They probably have like PR.
Actually, so far, with some of the current players, it's certain ones you might have to, but a lot of them it's more so been if you can get in front of them and just overall just being a genuine decent person and obviously you respect their space. If they tell you no, just thank them for their time and just keep it moving.
There you go. And
But
again, they know that you're helping support the team and in the community, both through the charity work you're doing, but also your podcast. Any chance a team gets to have, knowledgeable people talking about and sharing their knowledge with, the larger fandom, helps the team because, more people are interested and more people follow and will recognize when the team's doing good stuff. So I think that's, why the team and the players should be supporting, the work that you're doing. And it sounds like you're well on your way with that.
yeah, it's one of those things. It takes time. So like we've had, which I'll give them a shout out. We've had all-time Bengals rushing leader Corey Dillon on
Oh,
to
nice.
yeah
Yeah.
to
Corey Dillon.
and
Yeah.
yeah, we've had him on, and he's always been awesome and always been gracious with his time. And
Awesome.
we've also had the privilege of talking to Jeff Hobson, who was a longtime beat writer for he currently writes for the team and for the team's website, but he's worked for the Post and worked for the Cincinnati Post and the Cincinnati Enquirer for a long time. Yeah, we've had the chance to talk to another former Bengal great, Joe Walter, who was the former star right tackle for the team. And then obviously Will has to make sure that I mention that I give a shout out to one of the voices of the Bengals, one Mr. Dan Horde.
Awesome.
So
And so is this a weekly podcast or do you have a set?
we do about 3 shows a week. Right now we are right now we are audio only,
Mhm.
but the goal is we haven't quite gotten a game plan. We're working on that. Ideally, we would like to have at least be moving into YouTube.
Yes. Yeah.
Ideally, by I'd say the first week, by week one.
Awesome. And you're great on camera. So I mean, again, you have a lot better voice than I do. So I'll give you kudos to that. But you also
I
very
appreciate the
comfortable on
compliment.
camera. So yeah, doing something where you could do you write any articles or do you do anything beyond just the audio podcast?
We don't write any articles or anything because we're not affiliated with the team. This is just something that we do ourselves. If the opportunity came up, so to anyone out there, if you're working for the Bengals, hey, if you're willing to hire a long time fan like myself, just to write and give their honest thoughts, hey, I'm your guy.
Yeah. And if they don't want you, they could have me. I don't know anything really much about the Cincinnati Bengals, but I've been trying the same with the Texans. I'm down in the Houston area. So let's kind of move over to really the main purpose for you being on the show tonight, which is to talk about some of the great charity work that you and the Rule the Jungle podcast have been doing. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about the Jovante Woods Foundation? Love to be able to shine some light on all the different things you're doing to support that.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up. Last year, last year we were reached last year. The Jovante Woods Foundation reached out to us, and for anyone that is from the Cincinnati area, would likely know about the Jovante Woods Foundation because it was started by one Mr. Ickey Woods, who's an all-time Bengals great. He lost his son due to asthma and due to an asthma attack. So, with that being said, after he lost his son, he decided to take it upon himself to do the necessary research, and he found out that there was a lot of very troubling things that were brought up about how there's not enough research going into trying to either eventually give better treatments or be able to eventually maybe find a cure for something along the sort for asthma. Uh, Basically, what they do, the money that's donated to them, they they use that to help with things like research, education, and things of that sort to be able to give better knowledge, especially for somebody like myself. I played high school ball. I had a couple of guys that played with me when I was playing that were asthmatic. During that time, I don't think that although our coaches had kept their inhalers on them, they probably were not quite as educated per se. Although we were very fortunate not to ever have an incident, they may not have been as educated in how to be able to spot it and be able to things of that sort when things like that would happen. So,
Sure.
so for and the thing I've kind of come to realize, especially doing reading up on some things on my own, and just life experience, you find out, hey, you either know some people that have it, or one thing that I've found troubling is that hey, you can turn around and go through a certain period, and asthma just you think you never had it and it's dormant, and then suddenly one day it's just boom, you get hit with it and
Yeah,
find out that you've had it, and find out that you've had it all along.
and I'm a few years older than you are, and probably a few more years older than Ickey Woods,
Oh,
but
I'm 40, so
I'm 67, so I'm up there. But I can remember when I was playing football, if you were um, perhaps having an issue, a health issue like asthmatic attack, the coaches may not have been well versed on you know recognizing it, understanding it, and helping you with it, and so they thought you were just either dogging it, or you were perhaps just out of shape, and back then you got pulled to the side, and worse, they may have made you run afterwards because they didn't think you were working hard enough.
oh yeah,
And I think now, and hopefully with the work that Ickey is doing with the Jovante Woods Foundation, they are going to identify and help, because every once in a while you still hear about some athlete collapsing on the field, and whether it's respiratory or whether it's cardiac, um, you know, you hate to see that. I mean, you hate to see, people working so hard that they're, hurting their health. Now, I think, most people have heard of Ickey Woods, but, if you could tell us a little bit about Ickey, you're a Bengal fan, so obviously, a lot more about him as a running back. And, he was, a very popular player back in
oh yeah,
Pittsburgh.
he was an extremely popular running back. He was actually a part of the second Super Bowl team. Uh, Unfortunately, like I think when he was at his height, I was too young to remember. But I've had opportunities through my times of growing up, and then because I shared a love of football with my dad. My
Mm.
dad always made sure that just showed me old tapes and things of that sort, so that hey, I had an appreciation for
So I'm sure you
guys
saw
like Ickey.
I'm sorry, you saw the Ickey shuffle. He made end zone dances popular.
Oh yeah, he was one of the main big ones that made end zone dances popular, outside of maybe Billy White Shoes Johnson,
Yes,
which I
yeah.
think, if I remember, I think he's a former Oiler.
He was an Oiler. Also played. Oh, gee, where else did he play? But and then also Deion Sanders was pretty known for being flashy as a player. The thing about Ickey was he was a very large running back at a time when running backs weren't his size, and so
Yeah.
he would bull his way in and then shake the guy off, and then start the shuffle. So yeah, he was always impressive to watch.
Oh yeah. No, he was, especially even now. He said, Will said, I definitely saw the first shuffle. Well, for as long as I've known you, anytime there's been a major Bengals moment,
You were there.
what do you typically say? I was there.
Well, so you're working with this Jovante Woods Foundation, and so what are some of the things you've been doing to help support them through charitable activities?
Well, one of the things that are whenever they've had upcoming events, we've always offered them the chance to come on and talk about their upcoming events. But I think the big thing that we started last year was the fantasy football tournament that we did. The entry fee was $30, so everybody donated, and it all went to, not a single cent went to any of us. It all went to the Jovante Woods Foundation. So yeah, between that, yeah, between yeah, us to promote
You
it.
do the charity league. Also, I've seen, and I don't know if you're just involved with it or you're helping promote it, but I've seen a lot of softball tournaments or softball games also supporting the Jovante Woods Foundation.
Yes, there's a celebrity softball classic that's going on on July 17th, and we are actually so this is another good opportunity to promote. The Jovante Woods Foundation has given our podcast 15 tickets to give away. So basically, for anybody listening, if you would like to be entered in to that, if you would like to be entered in, the deadline is July 9th. We are planning to do the drawings on July 15th, not July 15th, July 11th. All you have to do is make a donation to the website, to the Jovante Woods Foundation website. Screenshot it and then just DM it to the Rule of the Jungle 9 X page.
And I think in the YouTube description, I tried to include some ways to contact the Rule of the Jungle podcast. And also, I think I included a link to the website for the Jovante Woods Foundation. So hopefully, and I'm also sharing the page right now for folks watching. So hopefully, there gives you a couple different ways that you could, one, learn more about the foundation, and two, also connect up with the folks like Anthony at the Rule of the Jungle podcast. And in fact, I thought there was also, and maybe this is what you were describing, I thought I saw a mention of something called the Rule of the Jungle giveaway. Is that basically the giving away the tickets?
Was it off of one of? Was it because
I think I saw it
My guy
tweeted about it.
Tyler runs the X page.
Okay.
Runs the X page. If it was that may very well have been that.
Yeah. So, and we can double back with them, with Tyler about that. And we'll add that to any information we're providing out too, because we do want to encourage as many people, especially in the Cincinnati area, to one, help support the Jovante Woods Foundation. And you can support that regardless of whether you're in the Cincinnati area or not. Obviously you could donate money and also, you share information about it to others that increasing awareness is all what this podcast is about. But two, so that you're also able to connect up with the folks at the Rule of the Jungle podcast, people like Anthony and people like Will on in the chat. Hopefully they can also help you get connected, and in the process also enjoy their podcast. I mean, hopefully your Cincinnati Bengal fans are at least interested in the team to be able to learn more about it through their podcast. And so I would encourage people to do that. Can you remind people how the best way to get a hold of, if they're interested in getting more information or following your podcast, can you give them information on how to do that?
For getting in touch with the podcast.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to learn about the podcast, we are on all your major audio podcast platforms. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean. We're actually even on Audible. So
Nice.
Audible and Amazon Music. So pretty much anything that distributes podcasts, we're likely there.
So track you down, follow or subscribe, depending on, I guess, the platform, and get a chance to listen to you folks more, especially as you get closer to the season. I suspect things will really start to pick up then.
Yeah, I know we're usually like the off season is typically when we try to lineup, whether it be a player interview or whether it be someone from the media, from the local media, someone of that sort. So as the season gets closer, it'll probably be more us doing pre and post game talks, giving our thoughts on the games as a whole. Because typically, unless giving our thoughts on the games as a whole. So
Well, and again, I would encourage people to also look for the Jovante Woods Foundation. Um, it's Jovante, Jovante, hyphen Woods hyphen Foundation.
or if you're on
.org,
the Chrome browser, just type in Jovante Woods Foundation. That'll typically
and you'll
take you right
find
to
it for
Google.
sure. For
Uh,
sure.
or just go to google.com and look it up that way.
Okay. And do you want to give a plug for the show, for the upcoming shows you're doing this week or next week?
Well, we recently did our top 15 best offensive line units. So that's currently up. Tomorrow we will be publishing, which I think has been somewhat of a hot topic a little over the past couple years. Uh, we just finished up editing, and we will be publishing it tomorrow. And it's a episode talking about is Zach Taylor on the hot seat. I think you guys will be
Oh,
interested
that
to
should be
hear our
spicy.
thoughts. We try not to speak ill of of players and coaches, because I don't, like I said, we don't think he's been bad. It's just general giving our open thoughts. So, but yeah, we've got that episode, and then later this week we'll have another episode. We'll have another episode hopefully for either Friday or Saturday. So we try to keep a Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedule, and then if we can fit in an additional show, we usually try to fit another one in as we can fit them in.
Awesome. Well, I'll be definitely taking a listen. Your best offensive lines. I'm sure my Houston Texans aren't on that list. Um,
Uh, that is subjective, and I plead the fifth.
okay. Well, I know that that's the one part that they really need to struggle to improve on. I know they drafted
Well,
an
you
offensive
guys got
lineman.
the one thing I'll say: you guys have a hell of a quarterback. So I think the offensive line was just a little bit of a bump in the road. Although I felt for you guys trading away Laramie Tunsil.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah,
So
that hurt. But again, wasn't, a lot of people have been down on CJ Stroud. He lost his favorite receiver. I mean, he lost both of his two of his three receivers. He lost Tank Dell, and that really seemed to impact him a lot. But he also lost Diggs, who for the start of the season looked really good, and then unfortunately another knee injury, and he was out. So I think people were a little bit hard on CJ Stroud. I think whereas in the previous year they were a little bit too high on him. They have a really good offense, so they got a couple of good wide
I
receivers,
think he's
and
going to be fine. I think he's going to be fine myself. I
he'll be
think.
fine. Good running back who also is a good receiving running back. They
Oh, you talking about Mixon? You talking about Mixon?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's not
oh my
sore
lord,
point, is it?
that was a little bit. Here's the thing. I think for me, it was a little bit of a sore spot, but I understood why the Bengals did it, because at the end of the day, he his running style didn't fit no longer fitted our offense.
Yeah, yeah. No,
But for what he was and what he meant to the city, I'll forever be indebted to him for. So I'm glad to see that he's doing well in Houston.
yeah, and Chase Brown's doing a great job for the Bengals. So I mean, it wasn't like he took a big hit on the running back side.
Oh yeah, no, that's why I hated to see him leave, but I also was like, you know what, I understand why they did it. So as much as it was a little bit of a gut punch. It was like, well, as a fan, this day is going to come at some point, whether it be retirement, they cut him, or they trade him.
Yeah, and he might have maybe another one or two more good years in him, and then
I think he signed. I think he signed like a 3-year extension with you guys.
yeah, but I think he's like 28, 29, somewhere in that range. So
Yeah, somewhere in that range.
So, and I know running backs, especially veteran running backs, made a comeback this past season. What the one big difference between the two teams is on the defensive side. The Texan defense, like the Ravens defense, are just monsters this year, and so
I applauded you guys' addition of Danielle Hunter.
yeah, awesome.
That was
awesome rusher.
oh my
Yeah.
oh yeah. So that's yeah,
And the
because
defensive backfield is also just super deep, and they got Lassiter and then Petre. I mean, they've got
Stingley.
Yeah, Stingley. Yeah, how could I miss the best back? So yeah, it'll be fun to watch the team. It's going to be fun to watch both teams, and again, hoping for nothing but success.
And likewise for your Texans. So yeah, that I'll never, and even like for instance, like don't get me wrong, they're divisional rivals. Like I have, like I don't wish any ill will. Although my pal Will would say otherwise, I don't wish any ill will on the on the division the teams in my division. I just don't want them to win against us when we play them.
Yeah, I don't think we play Cincinnati. We have a tough start. I know we play Baltimore this year and Kansas City. But
I'm going to be interested to watch that Kansas City game myself.
yeah, good. And that's a good
the reason why is that the reason why I'm going to be interested to see what they did see that particular game is some people think I'm a little hard on Pat Mahomes, but I also see but the only reason why I tell people like, hey, I don't think he's quite where everybody else thinks he is just yet. I said I think you're going to have to see what he does when you take away Travis Kelce when he retires, and then see what he does, how he adjusts when eventually Andy Reid retires. Because I think Reid will probably retire before Mahomes does.
Yeah, I mean, again,
unless he decides to pull a Joe Paterno and coach till he's 90, which I don't know that I'd want to go that long, but that's just me.
Well, I'm looking for that game. I'm looking for this season. We're obviously, that's what we all love. Is we all love fantasy football, and we love to see the games. Wanted to again thank you for coming on the show and talking about what sounds like just a wonderful charity that you folks are supporting, Jovante Williams Foundation, and so encourage everybody to look for that website. Reach out to the folks at the Rule of the Jungle podcast. So thanks again for being on the show, Anthony, and apologize to Will. We'll hopefully get you on next time we're able to do a show.
Thank you again, Rick.
Oh, you bet. And I wanted to also remind people out in the audience that if you're involved in a charity league or a charity event and you'd like to be a guest on the show to raise awareness to the good work that you're doing, my Twitter account is right there, and please reach out to me and we'll hopefully get you on an upcoming Tuesday. Next week, we're going to have Gary Van Dyke, who's going to talk to us about Michelle's breast cancer classic fundraiser best ball leagues that he runs. Sorry, that's a mouthful. So hopefully you'll tune in next week at this same time and learn about the great work that Gary's doing. And in the meantime, be good, do good, and always give back. Good night, everyone. And thanks again, Anthony.
Oh, you're welcome.